Independent thought, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So far, it seems to be just the tip. But how much further will he go, Putin? How many people are already in these quote-unquote regions that he has recognized? Could you imagine that? Just to break it down and keep it simple, stupid for you. It would be like if Mexico wanted to attack us, right? So Mexico's going to attack us. And they decide to recognize Arizona and Texas as their own region. And in doing so, they feel they could go in there and keep the peace. That's where we're at. And that's how he's played this game. And it's still not over because we haven't seen the it. And what will the it be? I don't know what the it will be. Could this be a situation where he wants certain assurances that we're not going to allow them to join NATO? They're not going to join NATO. Germany's not going to let them join NATO, right? Russia, so there's certain groups that aren't going to already let them join NATO, but you don't say that. You don't say that. But is it just going to be this? Because now he's got enough land where he can get certain troops and things down to Crimea and the ports, which is kind of the land thing he didn't have. Right now he doesn't have any of that. He can't get to Crimea. He's got to go through the water to get to Crimea. Here he would have some land. Or is there more? And could it get worse and worse?
With hopes for diplomacy dwindling, many fear this is just the beginning, a dark sign of what is to come. The two breakaway regions within Ukraine, already embroiled in a long-running battle for control between Moscow and Kyiv, may now become a launching pad for the Russian military to invade deeper into the country.
How far does he want to go? That's the big thing. How far? Why Ukraine? That's also the other thing. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. 1991, Ukraine voted for independence. How much will he, if he feels the need to truly go in there, lay down an absolute blitzkrieg, as some people call, shock and awe, whatever you want to call it? How much is he going to do that? Or is he going to be specific in targeting certain situations?
This is the most dangerous moment in this crisis. Is it just that Russia will support them in their own governance, that things will calm down? I think the greater fear here, revisionist history of the history of Ukraine, essentially saying that it was a Soviet creation. He doesn't really recognize Ukraine as a sovereign, independent, strong country that should be treated as such. He sees it as an artificial creation and that it's harming Russia's interest.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's about him and his interest. We know that. You know that. 1991, they voted. Overwhelmingly, 92.3% of voters approved the Declaration of Independence made by the Verkhovna Rada. Or Verkhovna Rada. Out of that, only Crimea and Sebastopol, which is essentially where these regions are that he recognizes, were under 60%. Everybody else was overwhelmingly in the 90s. Some getting high as 98%. To do what? To say we've had enough. To be done with Russia. Why does it matter? Well, the energy gets piped through there. They have their own natural resources. They are the breadbasket of Europe, many people call them. And at one time, they were the breadbasket of Russia. They produced just about everything. They were accounting at times for almost a quarter of everything Russia was producing. He doesn't want to reunite the Soviets. What he wants back is the stuff that can make his Russia a better Russia. More in the image of China than the former Soviets. I don't want the crappy little things just so we can control it. I want the stuff. Anything that's crappy but we don't really need but might be of use, I'll just install a puppet regime. But when it comes to certain things they believe that they need, he's ready to take it. Part of this is the stuff they have and the things that allow them to do. The other part of it is it's a flexing at the West, in particular the United States of America. Now, could this all be for nothing?
What are the chances that Vladimir Putin is bluffing?
There's always a chance. But every indication that we've seen, every move that he's made, that has followed the play that we laid out. He is following the script almost to the letter. Everything we're seeing suggests that this is dead serious, that we are on the brink of an invasion. We will do everything we can to try to prevent it.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're going to do with sanctions. Now, how big are those sanctions going to be? That's the, what are they going to be? Are we going to target certain individuals, which is something that the Brits have already done? Several oligarchs and banks. Are we going to try to squeeze them out of money? Put embargoes on anybody dealing with those banks and with certain individuals and businesses throughout Russia? But over the last 9-10 months, he's been planning for this. Apparently, he's squirreled away almost $1 trillion in the event something like this was to take place. On top of that, he's oddly, and I read a great article today talking about China's walking a tightrope with Russia. Like, we're not quite sure. Like, we might need them to back us if we go in and take Taiwan. We'll let them be a tester to the West to see if the West does anything, or if they just throw some sanctions out there that have absolutely no bite. And if we need to, we'll trade oil, because they're the second or third largest producer of oil. They're not part of OPEC, but they're called OPEC Plus, which is they produce so much oil and they export so much oil that along with OPEC, they kind of follow what OPEC does. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. So are they going to help them? They're going to do enough until, like we've talked about, until it makes Xi uncomfortable. Until it makes Xi completely uncomfortable and it's bad for his business, they're going to play the game. So what kind of sanctions? When are we going to get those? What do those actually look like?
The president had said all along that if Russian forces cross the Ukrainian border, there will be swift and severe costs. But Biden is already facing growing pressure from both parties here in Washington to act faster, to be more aggressive. And it is unclear just how far the president will go today in imposing sanctions.
And I think that's what everybody's going to look at, because the Brits have already gone through, and they have, they have went after them. They're going to hit them for the banks. They're going to hit them when it comes to their wallet as much as possible. And then the big news outside of all of this is the Nord Stream 2. The Nord Stream 2 right now is dead. Dead, which is good.
Chancellor Olaf Scholz says the decisions in response to Russian President Putin's recognition of the independence of 2 breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine, that he adds marks a serious break of international law. The call is a significant move for the German government, which has long resisted pulling the plug on the project despite pressure from the U.S. to do so. About half of the natural gas Germany uses comes from Russia.
And that's huge. So Nord Stream 2 dead, which Putin realized. And one of the big fears when, Trump said no, and the Germans were pissed. Biden capitulated because the Germans wanted it, but everybody back in July said this is going to be a mistake. This is going to be a mistake. This is going to be a mistake. Well, finally today, the Germans said, all right, this can't happen. This can't happen. But it's not just them. It's the Italians. A lot of nations throughout Europe have become way too energy dependent upon them. And the Germans, as we've talked about earlier in the year, they started going offline with all their nuclear plants, which made them even more dependent upon them. Now the question is, what kind of sanctions are we going to have? What kind of sanctions are you really going to throw out? How are you going to make sure those sanctions are absolutely abided by? And what does China do? Those are the things going forward that people are going to be looking at until and if he does something else. He may have done his move, but 190,000 soldiers, some places reporting 10,000 are already in the regions of which he declared them, quote, unquote, I guess, independent. Zelensky's not stoked. He's the president. They call him the YouTube president because he was a YouTube star before he was president.
Zelensky's saying this morning that he still doesn't believe that Russia's planning this large-scale invasion of Ukraine, which the Biden administration is warning about. But in an overnight address to the nation, he's accusing Russia of violating the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. He hasn't even touched, though, on that request by the Biden administration that he leave Kiev immediately and go to the west of the country for his own safety. And I don't think there's anything to suggest that he's going to do that.
No. No. You know, he left last week, went to a conference, came back. So there's a lot going on. This is going to be one of those things. You're going to hear lies. You're going to hear more lies. You're going to hear some truth with some lies scattered in. Until it happens, right? Because kind of what's happening is it's that subtle move. I'm just over here a little bit. Just a tip. Just over here a little bit. Maybe we'll just sit here and hang out for a little while. Make people guess. Make people think. It's possible. But also it's possible getting ugly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Today is 2/2/22. Oh, man. We love ourselves some numbers, don't we? So it's 2/2/22. So people get excited about this. Oh, my God, it's 2/2/22. I'm like, I have no idea. Does that mean something? It's February 22nd in the year of the Lord, 2022. It'll really matter when it's 2/2/22. Then wake me up and tell me how cool that is. With all the crap going on in Ukraine, all the crap going on in Russia, all the crap going on around the world with the fears of all of this, the butt puckering when it goes to the marketplace, what is going to happen to the thing that matters for a lot of us? Oil.
Here in California, regular unleaded is around $5 a gallon in many areas. The average price in parts of San Diego County is now $4.99 a gallon. Diesel is also up. Drivers are having to deal with it.
We used to be able to fill our diesel trucks up for about $120 a day, and now they're between $300 and $340 a day.
The tensions in Ukraine causing oil prices to rise. Add on to that, California always has high gas prices because of special blends, regulations, and high taxes.
Yep. Oil's up today, heading towards that $100 mark without any thing that seems like it's going to stop it, and still sitting on that kind of pins and needles. And should it cross over that $100 mark, and there's an invasion, there's no telling where it could go. What's that going to do for us? Well, get ready for, depending on where you're in the country, $7, $8, $9 a gallon. God only knows what California would have. Hawaii would be up near there. Here in, across the country, the average is at like $3, $3.20, something like that. You could see $4, $5, $6. So be prepared. And that's the thing. You've got to be prepared and understand what that's going to do for inflation, because it's going to do something for it. More expensive it is to get stuff there, the more expensive it is to drive you there, the more expensive stuff is going to be. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. All right, let's talk about Car Shield. Speaking of expense, cars going up. Every day I look, and what do I see? More and more and more. Used car prices are jumping. Many of you listening right now have a used car. You're not getting rid of it. Quite frankly, even though you could sell it for a lot, what are you going to do? Turn around and buy something that's really expensive, but you want to take care of it? You no longer have a warranty. That's where Car Shield comes in. All right? Car Shield administrators are there to help in every way. Take care of the paperwork. Take care of the expensive payment. You pay a small deductible. Protect yourself and your wallet, right? With Car Shield, you get to pick the place you want to take your car. You get a rental car for free, trip reimbursement, 24/7 roadside assistance. Over 1 million drivers have been helped by Car Shield. They're ready to help you. Save yourself 10% right now. Go to carshield.com/Benson. It's going to save you 10%. This is the best way to protect yourself, kids. I'm telling you right now, they got plans to fit anybody's budget. Get yourself Car Shield. Protect that car. Protect your wallet. Carshield.com/Benson. Carshield.com/Benson. Save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
That is us, you or you. Hope all is well on this beautiful, gorgeous day. The Olympics are over. Thank goodness for that. I didn't watch any of the Olympics at all because I thought, why in God's name like the World Cup, the last World Cup was held where, right? They go and they put it in Russia. What the hell were you thinking? Right? European nation, yes. But you put it there. I think they did a fine job, but still, it's Russia. And these Olympics were the Chinese Olympics. And I didn't watch any of it, and everybody's watching China. What is China going to do? How is China going to prop up Putin if things go south? And he's got every right. to do that, right? And make his little alliances with his evil friends. But we can look at all of these SOBs who are out there every day preaching about the equality and all of these kind of things. And as that's going on, we have to ask ourselves a question. Why are we kowtowing, as our buddy Bill Maher said? And we'll touch on that in a little bit. But how do we get to a point where we think it's cool that you can go and ski for an evil country? People got mad at me because I was getting pissed at Eileen Gu, the skier, for going and skiing for that. You were born and raised here. You were born and raised here, and you decided to go over there?
If you've been like me over the past few weeks, glued to your TV watching the Olympics, that makes exactly two of it. We knew there were shithole countries, but who knew there was a shithole superpower? I'm sure you've heard about American citizen Eileen Gu, the beautiful model, influencer, and now gold medal winning skier who was born and raised here in America, but who chose to ski in the Olympics for China. Cool, huh? Is that cool now? To choose to represent a totalitarian police state over America?
Yeah. For her, it is. The money was good, right? They talk about all the great. She bought into it. Plus, they used her as a prop, and she bought into it, and she made a ton of money, and she still thinks she gets a return back here to the United States. I'm sorry. You decided to do that. That was a you choice. That was a you choice. I'm glad the ratings suck. NBC's taking a look at this. And we should as well. I hope this was a turning point for the world to look and go, there's our way, and then there's other ways. Our way's not perfect because human beings are involved. But the other way, well, if you think our way is bad, wait till you get to real bad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Got a lot more on that. A lot of stuff more on the Ukraine as well. What could happen to the markets in the next couple days, weeks, months, who knows? It's Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's getting ugly in the Ukraine. Now, can we make it ugly for Russia? It's the big thing. Can't we do anything that hurts them? Because we're not going to war, right? That's not what we're going to do. We'll fund and or help if there is an invasion and occupation, the resistance, right? And you saw that. Remember what happened in Iraq? Remember what happened in Afghanistan? The resistance of making sure that their life is hell if they do indeed go in full throttle. What can we do? And the West, not just us. You know, I've talked about this on numerous occasions. It can't just be us. Yes, we're in the lead. Yes, we're the most powerful. But everybody's got to play their part along the way to make them feel what's coming. What can we do?
We know that on the table, heavy sanctions possibly on major Russian banks and companies, restrictions on technology. They could also target Putin's inner circle and even Vladimir Putin himself. But of course, in the past, we have seen that sanctions have done little to deter the Russian president. And Putin knows what's possible. Putin knows what's coming his way. And already he is dismissing and brushing off the possibility of these sanctions.
Yeah, because he's been preparing for this. He's been preparing for this. He's been preparing. He's been hiding money. He's been putting stuff away. The Brits came out today. They announced their sanctions. Talked a bit about that.
It is clear from the response of the world to what he has done already in Donbass that he is going to end up with a Russia that is poorer as a result of the sanctions that the world will implement.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. But going after the individuals, he's talked about the oligarchs. The UK's already done that. They went after several of his inner circle oligarchs, guys and gals and families who were KGB, upper echelon of the former Communist Party, who control mining and oil and all of those stuff. And he is going to go hard at them, or we're going to go hard at them, in hopes that slowly but surely we start to break this spell that he has on the wealthy, the powerful, and even the everyday person in Russia. Will it work? Probably not, because he's got so much money stashed away, and he's got the back channels. He's going to work with China. He's going to work with Iran. He'll work with Syria. He'll work with certain groups of people and countries that enjoy the fact that he is basically telling the West to kiss off and helping them along the way with resources, in particular, energy. Does it get out of hand? What I think would hurt him is what we've talked about in the past, which is if it gets out of hand and we see tens of thousands of men, women, and children that are civilians who have been bombed and killed, laying on the streets. How does the world react to that? Most importantly, how does Xi react to that? If I am right now Biden, I am calling every major company that does business in China. And I'm not just talking about business as in the sense of you selling stuff. You do business in China. You've got manufacturings in China. You absolutely have used their slave labor to enrich yourself and at the same time to sell us cheap goods. And I'm telling you, what do I have to either do, carrot-wise, to get you to say, we're leaving here, or B, what is going to make you uncomfortable enough to get you to move your manufacturing and stuff elsewhere? Those are the phone calls along the way that I'm making. Because if I can put pressure on China, any hopes of him going to China if things get really tough would be diminished. But how hard is that going to be? Bill Maher talked about it over the weekend. First of all, part of it's our fault. We're addicted to cheap goods. Who doesn't love a 70-inch TV for a nickel? Right? Like, that's part of it. Does it really cost a nickel, Chad? It doesn't. Shut up. But you get what I'm saying. Remember this, though, a couple years ago?
And China doesn't want anyone to talk about it. And because so much money is involved, no one does. 2 years ago, when the general manager of the Houston Rockets, Daryl Morey, tweeted, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong," he was forced to apologize. In America, we're supposed to root for democratic government, not apologize for it. But the NBA has a television deal with China worth $1.5 billion. So LeBron James said Morey needed to be educated on the situation. The situation being, I got some shoes to sell.
Yeah, and you remember when everybody's like, shut up and dribble? Oh, how could you say that so mean to LeBron? Now people are like, well, hold on a second. Maybe there was rights. This, I absolutely love what he talks about here about John Cena. So you guys remember it. John Cena essentially said Fast and Furious 9 is going to be, its first country is going to be seen as Taiwan. And Bill Maher called him out when a lot of other people, in particular right, called him out, conservatives, when this happened originally.
John Cena took that deal. China accounts for 34% of global box office, and he's a movie star now. So John, referred to Taiwan as a country as if it was a separate country from China, which it is. So we were treated to this video. Wowee, when a country can make your big, muscly, macho man action stars grovel in their language, you know you're somebody's bitch.
Yeah. Called Cena ballless as well. I think a lot of what's going to depend on what happens here is how hard can we go across the globe at countries who do business in China to start thinking about doing other things and moving it there, especially if this thing escalates. Because we know one thing about Xi. Xi wants to win. Xi cares about Xi first. They signed this massive deal about being pals. Xi is using the pooter in a way that is it pisses us off And he likes to have somebody who is at least in the same neighborhood, right? Like, they work at the same company. Xi's the CEO and he's worth $1 billion. You're worth a few million. You're kind of in the same gated community, but you're not. That's kind of what the pooter is to Xi. Great that you can poke him in the eye. Great that you're on my team. All that being said, if you start to piss me off, we're going to kick you out. Because I care about me first and foremost. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you with all that going on. We still have the insanity over here of some kids in masks. My son's not in school. Why is that? Doesn't have COVID, but he has symptoms. And even though the 2 negative tests say he doesn't have COVID, he's still not going there, which should piss everybody off, considering, in California, the kids have to wear masks indoors and outdoors. And good God, that is absolutely freaking sane.
Thing about the masks with the kids. Is there not time to chuck that?
Having a 5-year-old in school right now, I would like to see them go.
And I mean, to make these little children into Howie Mandel, generation of Howie Mandels, of little germ paranoid munchkins, especially when they are young. I mean, that's the first thing they remember, and it's going to get imprinted on them. And it's just, I mean, kids are gross to begin with. You got to let them be gross.
That's part of what makes kids kids, but it's also part of what builds up our immune system. It's I always joke. My mom's like, you guys are never sick because I let you guys basically play and eat in dirt and run around. I think that's absolutely true. It's time to get rid of the mask. Kids talk about it as well.
I'm here tonight to express how I feel about masks. Personally, I don't like them because they are really uncomfortable and hard to breathe in. But whenever I come in the classroom after playing outside, my chin is really sweaty and it gets really uncomfortable to put a mask on. It is also hard to breathe when you just played for an hour straight, and it is even harder to breathe when you put a mask on afterwards. My skin breaks out in rashes because the mask irritates my face. Many students feel the same way as I do. Please hear our voice and give us the choice to not wear a mask. Thank you.
They will never do that because it's about the kids, controlling the kids. It's about pissing off the parents at this point. It's about the school unions in particular going up against the parents, showing who's who. And that is going to be what do we talk about? The 3 big things that people are going to be talking about heading into this election season. The economy, number 1. How coronavirus is being handled. Not coronavirus itself, but how it's being handled because of the fear factor of if something breaks out, if we have a new weird virus that pops up or whatever, that boom, in comes all of these non-elected bureaucrats to throw out insane things. And the final thing that is tied with that is education. And this is a big thing. Education and masking has become that way. And you've got people who are not looking at any of the data because they don't care about the data. It's about control. They don't care about the data because the data only matters when it goes apparently in their way because they turned science into politics when it should have just been science. But they don't do that.
They were trying to prove a preset hypothesis to advance a political agenda. And this is the first time ever we've seen science weaponized as political propaganda. It's ironic that you can have antibodies that circulate and neutralize COVID, but they are antibodies the government does not recognize because they don't want to recognize it. And now we've learned from other countries that those antibodies are better.
Yeah, Dr. Macri right there. Absolutely true. 100%. Case in point, CDC is refusing to publish data it's collected on booster effectiveness for 33 million Americans age 18 to 49 over fears it might show the vaccines are ineffective. According to an FDA expert, tells the CDC to tell the truth. What? Yeah, tell the truth. Was it not needed? Probably not. Are you sure? Yeah. I don't know, because they won't release the data. Shouldn't they release the data? Shouldn't it be fair that they release the data? Isn't this about being transparent? Just that way everybody can take a peek at this? But any data we might get now is going to be completely BS, or it's going to be half-truths or not all of the data. And what they love to do, and we've seen this with the CDC and the FDA, when it comes to early COVID stuff and what's in the vaccines and stuff, they've pushed that stuff out 75 years. Because by then, everybody will be gone. So anything that it would happen where they're like, oh, man, they totally screwed that up, it won't matter. Because those people are all gone. It's not the first time science has been weaponized. I say, see Exhibit A, climate change. But science now is the best way to weaponize stuff because in theory, you can always say, believe the science. Or you're a science denier. It's like the new racism. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, talk about the Queen. She is sick. Britney Spears, I hear, is doing okay. Talk about that. U.S. women's national team gets a win today, and it's not on the field, but in the courtroom, kind of. Talk about that as well. Calibrate, losing weight is great. One of the things we've noticed about this entire pandemic is people who are overweight have struggled the most. Guess what? Calibrate's here to help. FDA-approved medication, one-on-one coaching, lifestyle changes that aren't insane. Guess what happens? You lose weight. Your metabolism resets at a level that's sustainable for your body, and your body doesn't panic when you start to lose weight, which is what happens. You start to lose weight, your body panics. Why? Because it thinks that you're starving. With this, the metabolism understands, oh, hey, this is what we're supposed to be doing, and you get to weight where it's comfortable for you, and it's real. On average, about 15% body weight loss for Calibrate's earliest members. They're well into 20, 30% by now. If you need to lose weight, you want something that fits into your lifestyle, this is what it's all about. It's sustainable and it's real. Your weight loss, it should be much easier. And too often not, we make it way more difficult. Calibrate is here to help. Right now, $50 off a 1-year metabolic reset. All you have to use promo code CHAD at joincalibrate.com. That's $50 off when you use code CHAD at joincalibrate.com. Joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
The two sides announced they have reached a historic agreement in that bombshell gender discrimination lawsuit brought by the players.
The gold has gone to the United States of America.
The sides telling ABC News in a joint statement overnight, getting to this day has not been easy. The U.S. women's national team players have achieved unprecedented success while working to achieve equal pay for themselves and future athletes. We look forward to continuing to work together to grow women's soccer and advance opportunities for young girls and women.
Yep, so they're going to pay the women and the men the same, which I got no problems with. Well, the women win. The women win because not too many countries play women's sports the way that we do. Very, very few. All of these other countries you see are usually made up of women who have come here, been educated here, gone through our college systems, and or have trained here, and in many cases even born here and raised here, but they had a grandmother or mother who was from a country who offered them the opportunity to play for their country in a World Cup, something of that nature. That's the reality of it. Read an article last week, says time to get rid of women's Olympic hockey. Why? Because there's only 2 teams. That's why. 2 teams. There's Canada and the United States. Nobody else. That's it. But when it comes to them, they won. They were pissed off. They were pissed off about what they got paid for their win at the World Cup. That money did not come from the United States United States Soccer Federation. It came from FIFA. So when you look at the men's share and the women's share, who gets a bigger share? The men's. Why? Because 1.5 billion people watch it, comparatively to not 1.5 billion people. They're making billions over here. They're making several million to tens of million over here. So the pool is bigger.
Obviously, we can't go back and undo the injustices that we faced, but the only justice coming out of this is that we know that something like this is never going to happen again, and we can move forward and making soccer the best sport that we possibly can in this country.
Yeah, and that's good. Again, I have zero problems paying them the exact same. If they play, they should get paid the exact same. But when it comes to like bonuses that come from other organizations, you can't force America to do that. That's silly. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Getting closer and closer to an all-out invasion. Not quite sure. We're watching what's going on in the Ukraine. And again, you don't even know what to believe half the time coming out of many of these places because there is so much disinformation, misinformation. The propaganda is thick when it comes to these things, and I don't think it's going to be changing anytime soon. And that is until there is something that's real and there are boots really on the ground, if that happens. And has it already happened in a meaningful way? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. If you miss any of the program, grab the podcast where podcasts are available. Spotify, I found out. iTunes, you name it, it's there. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Has the fighting begun? That's an interesting question. Has the fighting begun? Ukraine, Russia. Now, let's throw it out there. It's been going on for a while. For those of you not keeping score, what's going on down at the border between Ukraine and Russia and the Donbass region and the separatists that have been there and fighting the Ukrainians for quite a while, about 8 years, but 15,000 people have died. Well, that's been happening, but is there more to it?
I think this is really a bit of a semantics debate because the United States says that Russia has been invading this part of eastern Ukraine for the last 8 years. So I'm not sure the U.S. and its allies really see this as the full-bore invasion that they say is possible and even likely. But to President Zelensky, this is what Ukraine has been living with, and he says he is committed to diplomacy for now, that Ukraine will not respond to these Russian provocations.
Yeah, I mean, for now, what else are you going to do? You're waiting, but you got to be prepared. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. Who do you think you are, Jeffrey Tubin? You don't. You need to be in a situation where you are prepared. How prepared is he? That's the big thing. 2-3 weeks ago, people on the streets in the Ukraine, some were worried, some, they're not really going to do this. Same thing in Russia, right? Nah, it wasn't even top of the mind. I mean, if you go back 2-3 weeks ago, it wasn't like the lead story every night. It wasn't. Now that's all that's on everybody's TV. It's all that's on anybody's mind. The difference between the backed rebels by the Russians is these guys and gals who are fighting against the Ukrainians because they wanted to have their own region that would be loyal to Russia, is the fact that now what you're seeing is tanks, military vehicles, people's in uniforms. These aren't just rebels. They're trained soldiers, and that's a much different thing. That is. Now, what do we do? That's going to be the big thing. At what point do we really throw sanctions at them? I mean, we should have been doing it for a while. Slowly but surely saying, look, this is what we're going to do. We're putting these out here. We've not implemented them, but we voted on them. We've signed them, and we're ready to implement them the minute you do something that we find absolutely unacceptable. But instead, we're still kind of just playing grab ass.
We know that on the table, heavy sanctions possibly on major Russian banks and companies, restrictions on technology. They could also target Putin's inner circle and even Vladimir Putin himself. But of course, in the past, we have seen that sanctions have done little to deter the Russian president. And Putin knows what's possibly coming his way. And already he is dismissing and brushing off the possibility of these sanctions.
Yeah, because he's been preparing for this. Said to have anywhere between $750 billion to $1 trillion sitting there. The ruble is falling. Moscow's stock index is dropping. All of these things, though, were planned. Everybody's looking at China. What will China do? China's got a weird situation. They're going to watch. They're going to be supportive. They signed that big deal with Russia at the Olympic Games. All that being said, it will only get to a point where it stops benefiting Xi and it starts to hurt him, then he will step away. They're saying all the things about we want diplomacy, there's got to be a diplomatic way, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't seem to be that way. What's that going to mean for you and I? Higher energy prices, higher goods, higher cost of getting to and from work, things like that. Something that is, we've talked about. It's coming. It is. Oil's close to $100 a barrel. Getting there. Not quite. If it breaks that barrier and there is a true invasion, could we see $120, $130, $150 a barrel? It's possible. You're at that point in time talking about $5, $6, $7 gas. Maybe higher depending on where you live because of taxes, special blends, things of that nature. Every time that happens and we see prices go up, know that goods at the store that get to the store, not by magic, but by vehicles, are going to cost us more. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Secretary Blinken talking about, could this be a little poker face?
What are the chances that Vladimir Putin is bluffing?
There's always a chance. But every indication that we've seen, every move that he's made that has followed the play that we laid out, he is following the script almost to the letter. Everything we're seeing suggests that this is dead serious, that we are on the brink of an invasion. We will do everything we can to try to prevent it.
Yeah. But if he wants to, he's going to. And you can't prevent it. It's not going to scare him away. If it pisses off the West, it's a win for him. It's a win for Iran. It's a win for China. It's a win for North Korea, Syria, and the people who hate the West. Will that be it? Is this just a small thing that he's taking? Gives him an opportunity to say, look, we've recognized these two as separate regions. And because of that, we're going to install their usual puppet regimes or whatever and give them protection from you big bag Ukrainians. But it also gives them a road to the ports, which is one of the things they didn't have even when they took Crimea. There is no roads essentially to the ports. You have to go to, you take another road to get to, and then everything's on water from there, which makes it hard for him controlling those ports to service and see the subs and do the things that he wants to do. There you go. So be prepared for who knows what in the coming days, hours, weeks, who knows. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. It's crazy, though, when you think about it. We haven't had anything like this. Really? I mean, I've got a 13-year-old stepdaughter, 11-year-old son, right? I got a 11-year-old stepdaughter. I've got a 3-year-old. And we've never, I mean, in their lifetimes, they've never heard or anything like this. They don't understand. When I was a kid their age, 10, 11, I mean, we knew who Russia was. We knew the Soviets were. Like the Cold War was a real thing. It was. And we have to make our decisions. What are our decisions now at this point in time? And by that, I mean the globe. Right? Are you going with dictators? Or are you going to go with freedom? Are you going to go with democracy? Or are you going to go with these insane insane, overbearing, super evil regimes that only want to control. That's the big question. You know, for all of Trump's nightmare, he talked about that. Even Biden in the debate that they had, talked about there's going to be two ways this world's going to go. Are we still that beacon on the hill that people look to, or are we going to be run over and basically ignored? Are more and more countries going to turn to China rather than turn to the U.S.? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Today is 2222. Very important day for some people. I don't know why. But astrologers explain the power shift and the significance of 2222. Wouldn't it be a situation where 2222 would be a cooler thing? Right? Like, wouldn't that be like the big thing? But no, anytime you could talk about this, it's like, oh my Lord. In numerology, you reduce. So 2022 adds up to 12. Then you add 1, 2, 3, and that number 3 is consequential after 1 and 2. So it reforms the sequence. It's like a new beginning. Also, self-expression. That's a very powerful tool, said one astronomer. Very powerful. The astrologer also said the United States will experience its first Pluto return. In this case, the first time the planet, which is associated with transformation of power, will come back to the position it was when we signed the Declaration of Independence, and it was ratified on July 4, 1776. As a result, they predicted powerful, radical shifts. Oh my goodness. I'm super excited about the radical shift. What does that mean? Well, we're going to find out. It's going to be radical, though. That's what they said. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Give it to my dogs every single day. Continuing to do so every single day. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and omega-3, 6, 9. It's not a pill. It's not special food. It's something you put on top of your dog's food like a supplement. Sprinkle it on top of it. They're going to love the taste. And what it's going to do for them is give them tons of energy. It's going to help with their digestive system. It's going to help if they have allergies. And for my older dog, what it's really done for him and his hips is tremendous. It really is. He doesn't have joint pain. His hips don't hurt anymore. He is living his best life, which is great because we thought we were going to have to put him to sleep a couple years ago. And lo and behold, Doodle is still here. Try it for yourself. Get a bag for free. Cover the cost of shipping. It's that simple. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Go there and try it for free. They're going to send you a bag. You just cover the cost of shipping. It's a few bucks. ruffgreens.com/Chad. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old intranet. What's trending? Let's find out what is trending in the old webs of the inter and the net. Let's start first and foremost on Twitter today. Obviously, Ukraine. Germany halts certification of the gas pipeline known as Nord Stream 2. And UK imposes sanctions on banks and some individuals. Not a shocker. Don't say gay. Touch on this in a little bit. But HB 1557 in Florida essentially is the Don't Say Gay bill is what they're calling it. So the Democrats have gone in, and one Democrat, Anna Escami, I might have said that wrong. If I did, I apologize, would allow a student to sue the state school. The school reveals their sexual orientation to their parents. As a result, they face irreparable harm. How about schools just don't get involved in that? Is that not possible? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. LA Times has an article that's trending right now. The pandemic isn't over. Omicron won't be the last coronavirus to haunt us. Let's keep our mask off on indefinitely. Hide in the corner. U.S. women's national soccer team and the United States Soccer Federation reached an agreement today. $24 million. $22 million will go to players. Another $2 million will be put in some sort of fund to help. Not quite sure what that'll help. Somebody, somewhere. They didn't really explain that one very well. I was like, what? Head on over to Google. Ukraine, #1 thing, search. All-Star game, which I had no idea the basketball All-Star game was the other day. No idea. None. The Pooter. Trending as well. Not the Pooter. Yep, the Pooter. He is trending. Big time. 2/22/22. Tuesday. They're calling it Tuesday. Get it? School closing across the country with the Arctic funnel. And Hank the Tank is trending. Who? Hank the Tank. So you don't know who Hank the Tank is. He is a bear. Up near Lake Tahoe in California, Nevada area, right around there. So it was kind of going back and forth. Hank's been wreaking havoc in a neighborhood near Lake Tahoe for a while now. So now the officials in California have targeted for death Hank the Tank. Now, a normal black bear weighs 250 pounds. Hank weighs 500. What? Yes. If you saw Hank, he looks like a caricature of what a bear should be. He is so big and his little head is so small. It's hilarious. But they are worried now because he is extremely food habituated. What does that mean? He looks at people and says, they have food. Not that they are food, that would be the worry, but they have food. So he's no longer scared of people. He's not scared. He is not scared of the people. Aw. I feel like Hank would talk. Hi, guys. Hank, you've let yourself go. I know. I can't help it. I'm addicted to carbs. Don't you like berries? I don't. I like cupcakes. I like berries if in there a peanut butter sandwich. That's what I think he likes. Oh, so people are pissed. They're like, oh, let's not kill him. Let's do something else. So what they've done is around there they have set up things that you would see at camping sites where you put your food and things of that nature so the bear can't break into him. But somehow he squeezed inside somebody's house through a small window. It is hilarious. 2 officers responded to our big bear friend banging on the home exterior. He popped out the back door. So I don't think we should kill Hank. I think we need to get Hank on a diet. I don't like myself right now. I got problems. Poor Hank. Poor Hank! If you've not seen him, just type in Hank the Tank. This black bear pops up. He is everything that you would think. That is awfully hilarious and probably not good. But he loves snacking on American food. Right? He's addicted to junk food. And we got to put him on a keto diet. Oh, man. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Russia, Russia, Russia.
People in the street here in Russia, as I was this morning here in Moscow, what they make of it all. People still don't really believe he's going to invade Ukraine. People look at Ukrainians as their brothers because they do share a history and a culture, as Vladimir Putin said in that speech. But whether or not he invades this country, people here still don't really believe it.
We'll talk more about that. A lot of other stuff to squeeze into, including Leah Thomas, the swimmer at Penn University. Did she win this past weekend? Kinda. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The eyes of the world are on a place called Donbass. region in the Ukraine. Although it depends on if you want to call it the Ukraine, because now it's now been recognized its own area. It's kind of weird. There's a war that's already been going on there between Russian separatists and the Ukrainians for, going on 8+ years now. It's caused the death of some 15,000 people. And Russia has, for all intents and purposes, funded that. But now he looks at it and says, okay, I'm getting in there. Now let's get in there. We've had the separatists, but now let's put uniforms. Let's put real stuff in there. Let's make it ours, all under the guise of we're just here to keep the peace.
I think the worry is that this now gives Vladimir Putin an overt foothold in the Donbass, in eastern Ukraine. Yes, he's effectively controlled these areas for the last 8 years with supporting rebel fighters, but this now allows him to order Russian troops in, and from there, who knows how much further into Ukraine they go.
Yeah, and that's just it. How much further? Oil right now sits about $97 a barrel with Brent crude. So what's that do? Well, it makes everything more expensive. You're already feeling that. We talked last week of people now understanding that bosses are telling people it's time to come back to work. And people are saying, well, you know what? Maybe part-time at there, and then I'll do the other of it here at the house. But if you're right now, if you are a boss who, a manager, an owner of a company, and you don't need your people there, one of the great ways of giving your people a raise without having to give your people a raise is to tell them, stay home. Stay home. Do your work from home. Maybe come in once a week and check in. But for me, I will tell you this right now. It's costing me $40 a day to drive into work. I live further out. But $40 a day, it's a bit much. I said the other day, I got, there's a price in my head where I'm going to all right, I'm doing everything now from home. It'd be cheaper for me to rent a small office space and do it from there than drive in the distance I do. I talked to a couple of my friends last week who also work in this business, and they said at $6 a gallon, they're done. They do other things at home that it just wouldn't be worth it. At that point in time, it's kind of, it wouldn't be worth it because they drive a lot. Totally understandable. But think about it from the other side of stuff. The cost of everything is going to be going up because the cost of energy, if it continues to rise to where it's rising because of this conflict in particular, it's going to cost everybody, not just at the pump.
Here in Southern California, regular unleaded is around $5 a gallon in many areas. The average price in parts of San Diego County is now $4.99 a gallon. Diesel is also up. Drivers are having to deal with it.
We used to be able to fill our diesel trucks up for about $120 a day, and now they're between $300 and $340 a day.
The tensions in Ukraine causing oil prices to rise. Add on to that, California always has high gas prices because of special blends, regulations, and high taxes.
Yep. You put all that together, what do you have? Frustration. Frustration at the pump, more frustration at the store. Went this weekend, and again, I've got stepkids, I've got my kid, I've got I've got a house full. Normally we go and we'll spend $400 every 2 weeks on food and whatnot. It cost us $6 something. It's crazy. If we could get it, there were parts of our aisles that were completely empty. And you saw people making choices. Now we can't afford that. No, you know what? No. No, we're going to hold off on that. That's going to be things that people are going to be talking about heading into the midterms this year. What are we going to do? How are we going to get these things under control? We're no longer as energy independent as we need to be. We're ceasing our energy independence to make people who are environmentalists happy, all the while continuing to give money to people who are the worst contributors to global warming, and they hate us because we're addicted to it. We are. We're addicted to it. Just like we're addicted to cheap goods. Who doesn't like cheap goods? But you're in a position right now where you look up and you say to yourself, $6 a gallon? If that was to hit $6 a gallon nationwide, my goodness me. That is, I couldn't even imagine what that looks like at this point. I could not imagine what this looks like because you have the perfect storm. You have OPEC not increasing anything. You have OPEC Plus, which are nations like Russia, was the second or third largest producer of oil. Not really what they do is they follow along. They're not part of OPEC, but they follow along what OPEC does, will not be increasing. Then you're going to have a situation where Russia, being the second largest or third largest exporter, is going to essentially have nowhere to take their oil except to a few places, which will put more stress on it, especially as we continue to consume. And we're not even into the summertime when we start to travel. Ooh. Yeah, the chances of this thing getting ugly is going to be real very soon. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. And think about this. It's already ugly for a lot of us. You're going to the store, you're spending more, you're understanding that. But going and spending $5, $6 a gallon in California, $7, $8, $9 a gallon. Oh my God. Could not imagine that. I couldn't. But we might get there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Leah Thomas. You guys remember we talked about Leah Thomas? She was the controversial swimmer. And I do say controversial. In the Ivy League. Leah Thomas, who used to compete as a man on the men's Penn team, competed this week in the Ivy League championships. Now, here's the thing. I think Leah Thomas at one time when Leah was a man was ranked somewhere in the 400s as far as the ranking when I think that's both in college and as compete on would be potentially the international level. Well, Leah Thomas now is ranked number 1 as a woman. So when a man ranked in the 400s, when a woman, number 1. How did Leah Thomas do in the Ivy League championships? Thomas won the 100, 200, and 500 freestyle events during the course of a week. She gets ready for the NCAA championships in March. She broke records in all of them. In the 500, no, I think it was a 200 meter. It was like she went by like 2 or 3 seconds, which is insane. Insane. You could see the disappointment and the frustration of people as she won. And this isn't about Leah Thomas, right? As a person, as a woman, as a human being, this has nothing to do with that. And that's the problem is the left is easy to go, well, it's because you hate trans people. And the right is, they at times could be just as simple as saying you are evil and bad because you're trans. No, it's not this. It has nothing to do with her as a person. It's all to do with the reality of, first of all, you haven't been a woman for several years. It's been not too long. Secondly, your hands are bigger. Your bone structure is bigger. Your lungs are bigger. Your feet are bigger. Your back is bigger. All of those things, you just have a massive advantage. And this is the frustration for a lot of people out there is we can't have a real conversation in this country because it always deteriorates into something absolutely insane, which is what tends to happen, where everybody starts calling each other names. Like, there's no doubt you can just look and she is just 100 times better than everybody else. The advantages are tremendous. Now the next point is she's got to go to the NCAAs where she's going to take on the top, the women that will be competing for the opportunity to go to Paris in a couple of years and compete in the Olympics. The women who are on a national level, what is that going to look like? We're going to find out. Because if she goes and blows that away, because, see, here's the thing. The NCAA came out and they kind of kicked it to, hey, every league should kind of do what they think is best. And, everybody, oh, you guys are just, you're transphobic. It's not about that. It's about the reality of it's not a level playing field. That's what it is. It's not a level playing field. Oh, she may lose in some of these NCAA matches against the best in the world, some of which you probably already competed at the Olympics. But that's the level you have to go to, and that's the frustration that people don't understand. The integrity of women's sports, in some cases, you need to ask serious questions. It's not about, I don't know what else to do. Do you let her compete and say, look, you can't win? You can win, but you're not getting anything? Just so you can have the competition and the camaraderie? That's a tough thing. I mean, I can look at it and say, I can look at you, recognize this is the way that you want to live your life. This is what you believe. Fine. But I also look over, and this is the thing that we haven't done for the last umpteen years, is if one person says I'm a male or female and they want to go into a bathroom and other people of the other gender say, hey, you know what? I feel a little uncomfortable with that. Those people are not transphobic. They have the right to have their voice heard too. We don't have that anymore. Because just like I said, it's easy to call you transphobic, racist, xenophobe, Islamophobe, homophobe, whatever it is, right? Science denier. And none of those things, you can have a conversation with anybody if that's the first thing they're going to go to. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Speaking of that, we'll talk about, because they tried to cancel. The New York Times actually tried to cancel, or whatever they tried to do with this poster in cabs and in the subway about J.K. Rowling. That to me just shows you the insanity of where some of these movements and things go. It's crazy. CarShield will help you bail you out and your bank account out. Let me tell you why. First and foremost, let's just say it's not if but when your car goes a little sideways. That check engine light comes on in a day and age where cars are going through the roof. In fact, I think they're up almost 40% in some cases. Used cars up 30% year over year. You want to make sure you take care of your car, and many of you don't have a warranty, so that's where you get CarShield. With CarShield, you get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. It's that simple. And that's what I love about CarShield. They got plans to fit anybody's budget for whatever it is that you're looking for when it comes to your car. And I'm telling you guys right now, 1 million drivers have trusted CarShield. There's no reason for you not to trust them. Check them out today. Let them do the heavy lifting. You'll be surprised. You would. Especially when you see where car parts are going, how hard it is to get car parts, and the cost of those things. CarShield, the best defense against costly repairs. Right now, go to carshield.com/Benson. That's carshield.com/Benson. When you do that, you save 10%. Carshield.com/Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
We were talking about Leah Thomas before we went to the break. She is the swimmer at Penn who is was male, a few years ago. Now is female, crushing all of the the records, it seems to be in the Ivy League. It's going to go now to the Nationals and compete against the women in the national level. So she was competing against, and let's be real, the Ivy League isn't a power for swimming. So that's, like you're going to go up against the people at Stanford, like a lot of these, huge programs across the country, UCLA and all. This is, you sometimes, it's like athletes, right? There's certain schools you go to. If you're a great football player and football is going to be your career, you're probably not going to Yale or Harvard. They don't give you scholarships for athletics, and you're probably going to go to the SEC, right? Somewhere like that. So not academically the amazing, and the connections you make are great, but for athletics, But keeping with the trans spirit of the day, because it's transforming today, it's 2/22/22. J.K. Rowling is in the news again because there's an advert, as they would say, it's an advert. And the New York Times showed a person, Liana. And the person, Liana, is on this ad. And it says, it's a video ad. So you see it in like the subway, and you see it on, wherever you're going to see things, subway, benches, and inside of cabs. It says, imagine, Liana is imagining Harry Potter without its creator. Wait, what? That's what Liana is doing? Liana is imagining Harry Potter without Harry Potter's creator. You know what that is? You have nothing. That's what you have. You don't get anything. One person says, it's a beautiful day. I hope one dresses however they want, loves whoever they want. Also, J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. And of course, J.K. has been controversial because she believes that women, for all intents and purposes, are being cheapened by the trans movement, and it has been a source of frustration for her. I don't see that she hates people, but that's what you get, right, in this day and age. You can't have a conversation, and your feelings no longer matter, and your feelings now aren't just feelings and thoughts, they're hate. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Man, so much stuff. Talked about a lot. If you missed any of the action, check out Chad Benson Show podcast, where available, which is everywhere. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
How close are we to seeing an actual military invasion? I think it's a fair question to ask. What kind of invasion is going on now? Well, there's been one that's going on for about 8 years that's slowly but surely in the Ukraine, in certain regions where you have Ukrainians who felt they were more Russian, separatist. Money was funneled to them in support by Putin and the Russians, and they've been fighting. The Ukrainians displaced over 1 million people, about 15,000 people dead. That's real. But today's a little bit different. Because now, of course, the Putin has recognized these regions as their own independent regions. And now the question is, what's going to happen from here? He's moved some in there, depending on where you're reading, who you're reading, what you're reading, you'll find out that there's anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 troops already there. Not resistance fighters, Russian separatists, but actual troops. Oh, well, that's different. Yeah, it is. What are we going to do? Zelensky just said a little while ago he's thinking about breaking off all diplomatic, any kind of ties he has with Russia. Now the sanctions are going to be important. And we'll see. You know, Putin has been he's just been the Putin. It's what he does. He gives his speeches. He says one thing in private or has his people convey one thing. Then he goes out in public and says something completely different.
Putin now directing his forces to carry out a so-called peacekeeping mission after the stunning declaration that he is formally recognizing both regions as independent from Ukraine and denouncing Ukraine as a puppet of the West in a fiery speech to the Russian people, saying Ukraine has never had its own authentic statehood. There has never been a sustainable statehood in Ukraine.
And that's the way he looks at it. Ukraine accounted for a lot of what the Soviets did. Think about the Soviet Union, the size of the Soviet Union. Ukraine accounted for anywhere between 20 and 25% of pretty much everything. Exports, goods, grains, food, etc., etc. And in 1991, they all went to the polls, and they had the opportunity to go and ask their people, do you want to be independent from Russia and the Soviets? Overwhelmingly, 92% said yes. Only 2 regions, which were both in the Donbass region, said yes, but it was close. Just over 50% in 2 of those regions. The rest of them, there was places in the Ukraine where it was 98%. All 6 of the people who were running for president at that time voted and were very much behind the independents. Now his thing is, you're not really. And by the way, that killed Gorbachev's last gasp to hold the Soviet Union together was the Ukraine. Once the Ukraine said they were leaving, that was it. And then in 94, we had the Budapest Agreement, if you will, which was, hey guys, you have the 3rd largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. So it's us, Russia, and you. If you give up your stuff, and the codes were mostly in Russia, but you had all of the stuff that was nuclear, and you had unstable regimes. If you go back and you look back after the fall of the Iron Curtain and Russia and the Soviets just going to hell in a handbasket, you go look. It was a free-for-all of weapons. You could go over there and buy submarines and anything, and the thought was, let's get these things away from people that might be tempted to enrich themselves by selling it to people who would try to use these things. But in doing that, we made them a promise, and the promise was, we will protect your sovereignty. We will protect your individual right to be a nation, your people, etc., etc. So everybody goes and they signed on to this thing. Even Russia signed it. Russia came out the other day and said, nah, it's not true. We just signed it so we wouldn't use nuclear weapons. Now, if you go on and you just do a simple Google search, right, you can find out, no, that's not. There was 6 different points on there, of which it is not just that you won't use nuclear weapons on there. Oh, they don't care. They're coming. It doesn't seem to be something that they're going to be able to stop. It's just how far are they going to get in there? That's the other question, is can they go full bore? They don't want to destroy it. They want it. They want to occupy it. They want to use it. They want to milk it for all that it's worth. They don't want to destroy it because destroying it, that doesn't do them any good. Because it's got stuff, right? It's got pipelines. Speaking of the pipeline, that's the other big thing. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline. what's going to happen with that.
This news this morning that Germany is halting the certification of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which was meant to double the amount of gas coming from Russia and heading into Germany. That halt of that certification will diminish the amount of gasoline and gas resources that Russia sends to the rest of the world, in particular into Europe.
Yeah, and Europe has become very much dependent on energy from Russia. That was a big fear if they did Nord Stream 2, that they were going to have way too much dependence on a nation who could not really have to invade you to cripple you and your country. Germany today decided, no, we're not going to do this. And Germany lobbied for it. Trump wouldn't give it to him. Germany came and lobbied hard to Biden. Biden said, fine, but you understand. And lo and behold, what ended up happening? Now, they're killing this, at least for now, which is it's a smart thing. But Germany was so dependent upon them that they were taking down and offline all of their nuclear power plants, becoming even more dependent. Italy is very dependent upon them. And of course, the more oil there is, the cheaper oil is. The cheaper oil is, the better it is for you and I at the gas tank. Right now, crude prices are hovering anywhere between $96 and about $99 a barrel, waiting for that next move. Once it got close, got to $99 a barrel, but once it gets to that point where I think it breaks 100, it's because there are more shelling. The invasion isn't just we've recognized these areas as free, independent of Ukraine, but actually in parts of the Ukraine that isn't those areas, and you realize that it's go time, then I think you're going to see oil explode, which means huge, huge issues at the pump for us, which means trouble for Biden and the Democrats because they've already seen what's been going on. Our energy independence isn't what it once was, and I don't think we're going back because for whatever reason we think it's okay and it's easier to appease some environmentalists while we search for better green power that is actually reliable all the time, and for us to then be dependent on nations who will use this money and their hatred of us. And sad, very sad. And also huge, huge environmental issues with all those countries. But hey, you know what? You do you, right? We're good. Yeah. The Democrats already know they've got a shellacking coming in the next several months once we get to November. It's just how bad it would be. And if we get to the point where Russia walks in, does whatever they want, our sanctions, whichever those things are going to be that really we think are going to bite into them, don't, because China backs them. He's already put $750 billion away, apparently. At that point in time, you're looking and saying, all right, Afghanistan was a nightmare. Our immigration policy is a joke. Inflation is through the roof. Oh. COVID, well, you haven't killed it. You haven't come in and wiped it out because you knew you couldn't. That was silly. But you said it. And then if this goes south and essentially it falls apart, yeah, it'll be a massive shellacking. Because if you've got a D by your name and they're already struggling with that, you're going to pay a price. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. We'll have more on what's going on over there. The Olympics, over, done, dusted. Thank God. NBC is saying to themselves, do we want to do this again? So when NBC bids on these things, any of these companies, they bid on this stuff. One of the things that they do is they're bidding on what they don't know yet. Who's getting the games? What's that going to look like? Also, they can, go out there and run ads and schlep their wares and their TV shows and all that stuff. This was an absolute debacle across the board. It really should. I can't blame NBC on that. Again, I don't know if they're going to move forward anyway. The IOC, you guys once again have proven yourself to be absolutely awful and continuing to work with dictators and just authoritarians. And it was not the crowning achievement that Xi thought it was going to be. So Thank God it's over. And then along the way, you had Russia and China become closer allies and friends and sign a massive agreement of some sort, basically to say we're going to support each other and all this stuff. You had several other controversies along the way. It was a joke. It was an absolute joke. And I'm happy to say I watched none of it. Outside of the curling on the TV, because that seemed to be on CNBC, and inside of our studios, we have like 5 TVs, and that was one of the ones that was playing. I watched zero of any of this. And I'm hoping that the message is being sent. If you want to work with the free world, well, the free world would like to have a say in where you're going to put some of this stuff. God, at this point in time, the IOC is so corrupt, they might be like, man, if Putin takes over Ukraine, they've never had an Olympic. We can give them one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Rough Greens, give it to my dogs every day. Makes my dogs happier and healthier. What is it? Well, it's a supplement, right? Like you and I take supplements. We sprinkle this on top of the dog's food, right? So I sprinkle it on top of all of my dog's food, and they love it. They eat it up. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff. It helps with their digestive system. It helps with their coat. It helps with their joint pain. My younger dogs, they don't need tons of energy because they got it for days. My older dog, he didn't have a lot of energy, but over the last 2 years, his energy has grown. He's happier and healthier than he's been in since, I don't know, forever. And I love that. It's simple and easy. We're not asking you to go out and buy something else crazy like special food. Just keep giving them the food you're giving them, but just sprinkle this on top and watch the difference. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. You go there, you get a free bag. You just cover the cost of shipping. Try it, see if you like it. Roughgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
No need to socially distance while listening to your Chad Benson Show podcast. 4 out of 5 experts say so.
I'm a scientist. There is no corona.
But hurry before they change their mind. You know they will. Chad's podcast found on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite COVID-free podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Father and son Greg and Travis McMichael and their neighbor William Roddy Bryan grabbed guns, jumped into a pickup truck, chased down and shot Ahmaud Arbery, believing he had trespassed inside a vacant house. Defense attorneys contended the three did not kill Arbery because of his race, but prosecutors displayed about 24 text messages and social media posts in which Travis McMichael and William Bryan used racist slurs and made derogatory comments about blacks.
Yeah, that was a modern-day lynching. You guys remember that one? So there they are. In Atlanta, he was jogging through a neighborhood. Their neighbor filmed it, and it was like, if you were going to say what's a lynching look like in modern times, that was it. And they got away with it for a while. When it was a former cop, right? The dad and the DA, and they had relationships with people, and that was a turn the other eye to what took place, and then smart people got involved. People who were like, no, this is wrong. This is murder. This is a hate crime. We all too often, is it a hate crime? This was a hate crime. This was a lynching. This is going to be hell for them in prison. Good. Good, good, good. Scumbags. Absolute scumbags. I remember at one point they said, people had seen him going into people's, like a home that was unbuilt. And because he was a realist, I think he was like working to be a real estate agent, used to be, and Anthony, producer Anthony, I've talked about this because he was a real estate agent for a while. And he'd said, yeah, you go into some of these things, you're looking around, what is the build like? I mean, I think a lot of people have done that. And it's my neighborhood is, because we got the golf course back up, and where I live is booming right now, one of the fastest growing communities in the country. The Valley of the Dirt People may not be the Valley of the Dirt People for very long, but there is a house being built like on every plot of land you can find out there right now. And so, like, yesterday I hit a golf ball and I actually walked over by one. I was kind of looking around, like, they were looking for an excuse and they took one. But the reality is they were hunting and they got what's coming to them. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It is 2/22/22. What does that mean? Where are we headed? Plus, it's Taco Tuesday, right? So that's what Anthony's like, don't mess it up. I won't. Have to say it correctly, right? Got to get you tacos today for sure. More on what's going on in the Ukraine. Craziness there. A new Omicron variant. Some interesting stuff from Bill Maher as well going on, taking on China as well as kids in school with masks. And what is the CDC doing when it comes to data and information? Are they hiding it? Yeah, looks like it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So I was passing somebody in the office there, and he said to me, all right, what's a guy in Arizona care about what happens in the Ukraine? And so let me break it down for you, keep it simple, stupid. We're paying $3.50 for gas now to $3.70, depending on where you live and what city you're in. So let's say it's like $3.60. So yeah. Would $5 to $6 suck? He goes, oh, that sucked. Boom. Now that's our interest when it comes to our wallet. I said, now that's just gas. Let's take the fact that it's now going to cost more to get stuff from point A to point B. Boom, that's going to cost more. To produce stuff, petroleum's in a ton of stuff, plastics, things like that. That's going to end up costing more, and it's going to be scarce. You could start going down the line of the things that you could check off the box and how it'll affect you and me as an individual when it comes to our dollar bills. The other side of things. If the pooter has eyes on a bigger prize, pushes it, gets into a situation where Poland, a few other nations, Romania, Estonia's come out and said, we are totally against this because they're worried, could we be next? If that was to happen, well, then you're going to care because we would be going and facing off at some point in time, whether it's through the air, sea, whatever it is, that's a possibility. Not quite there yet. Right now, sanctions, and more sanctions seem to be what we're aiming to do. We've debated this, right? Sanctions first, or let him move and then put sanctions in. Sanctions first, because we want to show that we mean business. You don't put all of them first, but you put some of them first. Or wait till he makes a move and then throw everything at him. And I've talked to several people, CIA analysts. I've talked to counterterrorism people. I've talked to military people, and they've all said the same thing. I mean, they've all said something that seems to be different. Sanctions are what they agree in, diplomacy, the whole nine yards at this point in time, but they all have a different take on when it should have been. I think I've come to my belief is we should have all of the sanctions ready. We should have had them out there. We should have outlined some of them. And the smaller sanctions of certain banks, doing business with, et cetera, I think we could have put some of those in place with the bigger ones potentially coming later. Well, then you'll have nothing. But he's been preparing for this. At this point in time, as you're hearing this, it's an estimate $750 billion to $1 trillion he has stashed away already. He's got an agreement with China, which will give him as much help as possible until it becomes untenable for them. But sanctions are kind of where we're at this moment in time. The UK this morning, well, they went and threw sanctions on banks and individuals.
It is clear from the response of the world to what he has done already in Donbass that he is going to end up with a Russia that is poorer as a result of the sanctions that the world will implement.
There you go. There is that. For us, because look, the average person first of all, I don't even know what the average person in Russia really thinks. Some people think, up until 3-4 weeks ago, there was really no thought in their minds. It's not going to happen. Even people on the streets in the Ukraine weren't really thinking this was going to happen up until I think a few days ago when they started to realize this may be happening. For us, what kind of sanctions could we put on that would be even anything that they would feel? And you want them to feel it, not just the banks and the Russians leaders, but probably the Russians as well, because they're the ones who are going to easily be the people that are going to be able to turn some of this tide and say, okay, we've had enough and we're struggling and we'll have an opportunity to vote you out, potentially, as we all know with the pooter. That'll never happen.
We know that on the table, heavy sanctions possibly on major Russian banks and companies, restrictions on technology. They could also target Putin's inner circle and even Vladimir Putin himself. But of course, in the past, we have seen that sanctions have done little to deter the Russian president. And Putin knows what's possibly coming his way. And already he is dismissing and brushing off the possibility of these sanctions.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people realize that. He doesn't care. And when you don't care, right? So when you don't care, because you are so entrenched in the system that you're in, coming from the system that he's come from, where the former leaders did not care, where one of their former leaders, arguably their greatest leader in Stalin, said the death of a person is a tragedy, the death of a million is a statistic. He doesn't care. He doesn't. To him, it's about, So can we make it untenable for others, in particular the oligarchs, who have tens of billions of dollars wrapped up around the world, to freeze their accounts, to make it uncomfortable for them, to potentially put pressure on them? No, because they've probably been smart enough to be hiding money for a while. And they figure we've got enough to work with Iran, Syria, in particular China, that we can survive. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It'll be very interesting to see what takes place from here, but it's going to be something. And the invasion, what does that look like? Is it inch by inch? Is it going to be something real? And while that's all going on, Biden still has to worry about coronavirus, restrictions, the fear of what's the next, right? Because that's the thing they're always telling us. What's the next?
The director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, has pointed out this subvariant's been in the U.S. for several weeks now. If this was a massive difference in transmissibility, it would have already taken over. But it still could certainly be more transmissible. The estimates range from 30% up to 60%. We don't know for sure, but it could be enough to cause another rise in cases as they've been largely declining all over the country.
Nobody cares. Well, what do you mean nobody cares? Nobody cares because they're living their life. Nobody cares because at this point in time, you've had the opportunity to get a vaccine. You've chosen not to do it. That's a you thing. Hey, man, God bless you. This is the beauty of our country is we want those choices. Got zero problems with that. The three biggest things heading into this election season, the economy, number one, and what's going to take place in the Ukraine is going to play into a lot of that with inflation continuing to get out of control. The fact that rates really aren't rising and they're not putting the benchmarks out there the way that they should be. And I think that has jumped the shark as far as the Fed has gone in being able to control some of this. It is very real. Right? But you also have the reaction to the coronavirus, not the virus itself, the reaction. What are people in power going to do if they see an uptick? Are they going to panic and start to grab a hold of the reins again and try to control something that you're not going to be able to control. You're not. Then you got this. 2 weeks ago, the Centers for Disease Control published data about the effectiveness of boosters against coronavirus, so COVID-19. But there was a giant, huge, massive amounts, a tranche, as they say, of data that was missing. Those from the ages of 18 to 49 who were least likely to benefit from boosters. They're being criticized for failing to publish information about children's hospital rates and comorbidities. Once again, people are asking questions at this point in time. We know people that are really, really out of shape and elderly face an uphill battle against coronavirus, the flu, et cetera, et cetera. But the transparency is not there. And why isn't that? People are calling for, why haven't you published it? Where is it? Kristen Nordlund, a spokeswoman for the CDC, said the agency has been slow to release different streams of data because basically at the end of the day, it's not yet ready for prime time. She said the agency's priority for gathering any data to ensure it's accurate and accountable for everybody. And she also told the New York Times that they were concerned it might be misinterpreted to show the vaccines were ineffective. What? Of course. Translation, people are going to take it, look at the data and go, well, 18 to 34-year-olds or 43-year-olds or 45-year-olds didn't really need the damn booster. They didn't. And they didn't die in massive numbers. They didn't. And the ones who did were sick already. And same thing with the children. We still see children masked in the state of California, several other big blue states and cities where they're wearing damn masks to school, indoors and outdoors. My son being one of them. He's got a little bit of a strep throat or something like that, or a cold, and his mom's giving him 2 tests. School's like, you still got to stay out because you might have it. Like, it's never enough. It's never enough.
In my view, it's given. We just passed a school board recall. We recalled 3 members of the Board of Education in San Francisco. And I think it's shown the prevailing of common sense and core values over radicalism. They were more worried about renaming schools than making sure that the children returned back to in-person learning. And so I think parents and residents of San Francisco have said, look, these radical, extreme ideas are not going to work for us anymore.
Yeah. And one of those radical extreme ideas is keeping kids in masks for as long as damn possible, no matter what the science said. Same thing in Los Angeles County, one of the biggest counties in the country. Keep people in masks, no matter what the science says. You can't show me the science that says this will prevent. Like at that point in time, what you're saying is this is going to prevent something? 1, 2 little what? I mean, we might as well just tell everybody stay at home. The science will say if we all stayed at home, nobody would ever get sick. Nothing would ever happen to us that would be bad. That's not living. That's hiding.
Think about the masks with the kids. Is it not time to check that?
Having a 5-year-old in school right now, I would like to see them go.
And I mean, to make these little children into Howie Mandel, generation of Howie Mandels, of little germ paranoid munchkins, especially when they are young. I mean, that's the first thing they remember, and it's going to get imprinted on them. And it's just, I mean, kids are gross to begin with. You got to let them be gross.
Exactly. And the game is what the game is. There is no reason. There is no rhyme to it. There is no explanation of any scientific data that backs this up. The World Health Organizations don't recommend it. Right? Europe's not doing it. But it doesn't matter because it's about control. And that's why when I said the 3 things taking into this next election, the midterms, economy is obviously going to get bigger and bigger, especially with the potential for inflation and energy prices to run just insane. But the reaction of COVID, not COVID itself, the reaction of bureaucrats is going to play a huge role. I saw somebody tweet out something the other day that how long will COVID last? And they said, I have a feeling by the time November gets around, it'll be eradicated. Exactly. And that shows you so much of what so much of this has been about. You can be for the vaccine. I got my vaccine. I have no problem with it. I'm not for mandates. And I'm for transparency. And this thing right here, they've been anything but transparent. You know it and I know it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still to get through. We're going to try to squeeze it all in, but I want to talk about squeezing in. I had to get new shorts this weekend because I've lost a decent amount of weight thanks to my buddies over at Nutrisystem. All right? I am not starving. I have eaten well already this morning. I'm going to have a snack because I get up early because my lunch is right around like 8 in the morning because I'm up at 2:30. But I will tell you this right now. It is awesome. Nutrisystem is incredible. The food is great. Up to 30 grams of protein, guys. Right? So it's big, it's filling, it's tasty, it's delicious. You're not eating. Yeah. Nobody wants to eat. Yeah. Plus, you want to look better, right? Right? A little smaller shorts, little smaller shirts, starting to feel good. Don't have to shop in that weird section. You get where I'm going with this? It's time to make a change, right? Drop those 20, 30, 40 pounds. Feel great doing it. And the reason is scientific advancements with their nutrition. It's great. Keeps your body just rock and rolling. Your blood sugar levels are steady. You start to lose weight. You feel good about it. What are you waiting for? 50% off right now. Go to Nutrisystem.com/Chad. 50% off. That's Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Saves you 50% off. Yeah, men and ladies. 50% off any plans. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Results vary. Offer restrictions apply. See website for details. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Queen is, we understand, fully vaccinated.
Of course
she has also been displaying mild symptoms, and the palace isn't always open about medical things, but they have been very clear on that point that her symptoms are mild.
Yes, mild indeed. I'll be fine. Don't worry. I've got stuff to do.
They have made it very clear that she intends to be carrying on with her duties, really making that point there that emphasises that she is up and about rather than bedridden, and emphasising that there isn't too much of a need to be too concerned just yet.
Yes, she's 95 years young. I am 95 years young. I'll be fine. Don't you worry about me. Just a little bit of a rasp in my throat. I'll be good. She's got COVID. She's got the shot. She's going to be fine. She's 95. Going to be fine because she's got the stuff and she's got people around her 24/7. And if something was to happen to her, she led a pretty good life, right? You know, just say. I don't think anything is. Sounds like she's going to be all right. But she is 95. A flu would make you go, uh-oh. So at 95, average age, it's what, 78? So you've gone 17 years to the good. You're playing with house money at this time. It's not very nice. Oh!
For some, it sounds like a dream. Others, possibly a nightmare. But Disney is starting to build planned communities called Story Living by Disney. The first in the Southern California desert near Palm Springs. That community will be called Cotino. You can expect condos and single-family homes, shopping, dining, a man-made lake with a beach, and Disney entertainment and activities. Nowhere just how immersive the Disney part will be. For instance, will characters be walking around? We don't know. Also no word on price or when it might open.
It'll be expensive. I don't know when it's going to open, but it's so funny because when they announced this the other day, people just started torching Disney adults. If you don't know what a Disney adult is, what is it? I'm going to tell you. Uh-oh. Yeah. So a Disney adult is somebody who's insane. Uh-oh. Yeah, kind of. Like their life revolves around Disney. They got all the stuff, right? Shirts, figurines. Uh-oh. That's a Disney adult. You know who they are. Come on. You know who they are. I don't know what this would be like. One person tweeted, imagine a neighborhood of Disney adults. Oh, God. Isolating weird Disney adults from the rest of society. It's the best idea that people have had. Hey, that's not nice. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter, ChadBenson. It's Taco 2022 Tuesday. Have a good one. Go get yourself some tacos. Who knows what it'll look like tomorrow? Craziness, chaos may ensue. Oh, my Lord. Godspeed. Godspeed to the Ukrainians. Night, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.